unfortunately wasn't spread where it should have been. It was basically pruned into its base.
Right.
And if we come down to, if we take this off right here and just go with these two, it fills the space. And that's probably what I should have done this year anyway.
Why don't you do that?
Out there?
I get into those
So the
too.
lower branch continues.
And why is he doing that?
So I'm going to explain the why of that. But we started at the whip, and now we're 3, 4, 5 years into this tree. We're going back in time a little bit here. For 3, 4, 5 years, we're training certain branches to have good crotch angles. We're leaving some extra branches just to photosynthesize as long as it's not interfering with the light space of what we left. So in forming a central leader tree, there'll definitely be a first scaffold level of branches. That level doesn't all come off of the same spot on the trunk height, but it can be over the course of several feet. And remember, we're going to eventually want to throw a cow or a golden retriever between the branches. The next scaffold, with a tree of this vigor at this spacing, with enough room to go up to be 12, 14 feet high as things are kept here, it's really going to be up in about here. And then there's the top of the tree, which I'll describe in a different fashion. So that first scaffold, ideally, is going to consist of 3 to 5 branches that radiate around the bottom of the tree to fill the quadrants, what I'll call a light space. And then you have the next branch coming over that, but they're not going out quite as far, so that you're creating this more conifer type shape to maximize surface area. So this cut, it didn't have to be made. We talked Wayne into doing something he's going to regret tonight. This branch is kind of starting to point a little bit more upward into the second scaffold space. So by removing it, there's more sunlight on this to spread and develop to its full potential. So scaffolds are levels, and it's not like, don't be a literalist about this, but when they start to go up too far, or they start to droop down that level below, that's some of the cuts you make as well. In time, it is very likely that as this grows out more, and this is coming out, some of these middle ones are going to go. But I like to, in those going into the bearing years and in the teenage years of a tree's life, leave some extra branches as long as you recognize, well, in the very young stage, that's more leaves, that means more photosynthesis, that's good for root development. You get into the beginning of the bearing years, there's some extra fruit from there, as long as a branch is not taking up the same light space as another branch. Just in terms of seeing light space, it's not that this is right or wrong, but this branch coming out over this space here, these are really in the same light space. And this is something I would want to eventually correct. And it might be that I keep this because this one gets heavier and droops down. But I make choices like that so I create some air openings, some room for light to get in there and breezes to get in there. And then there are some varieties that you train the crotch angle, but then they just go right back to the vertical. They form like an inverted umbrella tree. And some of that is inherent in certain varieties, like Sweet 16 is a Minnesota apple that really tends to do that. Sometimes it's about the fact that there have been spring frosts and there's been no early fruit to help start to crop and flop the branch to bring it down with the weight of the fruit. And that's where I get into a second round of spreading, not to change the crotch angle, but to get that branch that's gone back to the vertical to be more of a 45 degree. And when a branch is spread more laterally, that also helps induce the formation of fruit buds.